Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. It's Ro, and today I am going to be sharing with you a tutorial of how I made that bird box that I already posted over on my Instagram. At the end of the video, I will be sharing with you a clip of how that bird box looks like. So for this project, I will be using those two paper collections, and we are going to start off by cutting a piece of paper which is 8.5 by 5 inches. On the 8.5 side, we are going to mark at 4.25, which is the center, and then you switch that to the side and you are going to mark at 2.5 on both sides. Later on, we are going to score that. And then up next, what we are going to do is we are going to switch back to the 8.5 side. Right there. And we are going to score at 0.5 on both sides. So there's that. And again, this is me scoring the 2.5 mark. Up next, we are going to cut our roof. And to do that, we are going to use those marks as guides so it's easier for us to cut our roof. So at the 4.25 mark, you are going to line that up with a 2.5 mark to cut your first side of the roof, and you do the same thing with the other side. There you go. And up next, that mark and the 0.5 mark, you are going to cut that too, so you will have another diagonal side right there. Again, that's cutting the corner and the 0.5 marks that we did earlier. Once you're done with that, we have this one. This is going to be the top half of our bird box. Next, we are going to need 2 of those pieces. That's what I did here. And then once you're done with that, you are going to cover our the outside parts with our pattern paper. And then if you are going to sew, you can sew right now. And the next thing we need to do is we are going to cut a hole. That's going to be like the door of the bird box. For this, I am going to be sewing acetate. And then I added a little bit of clay sprinkles right there. And I covered it with pattern paper. So there's a design. Next, we are going to bring out our ScrapDivaDesigns Box Making Strips. You are going to be using these two pieces right here. This is the 2.25 by 5 and 2.25 by 10. You are going to need 2 of the short ones and 1 of the long one. I also cut pattern paper to mat those pieces. And up next, we'll put it together. I don't have a clip of how I put it together, but with the door facing you, the circle door facing you, you are going to put a short piece on the left roof. And then to the left side, you are going to continue with the long piece. And then you go around the bottom. And then from there, you are going to connect the other short piece until you finish up halfway of the right roof. Up next, we are going to need 2 pieces of 7.5 by 5 inches, and you are going to score the sides at 0.5. Only 2 sides. That's going to be at the 7.5 side. So again, 2 pieces of 7.5 by 5, and score at 0.5. This is going to be the bottom part of our birdhouse. And then, like we did earlier, we are gonna cut a diagonal cut right there, and we are gonna use the 0.5 marks. So we line the corner, the top corner, and then we lined it with the 0.5 mark to make that diagonal. That's how it looks, and it will look like that. And you'll do the same thing with the other side, with the other piece of paper. And then once you're done with that, we are also going to cover those pieces with pattern paper. If you are going to make this project and you have questions, if you're stuck at a part, just ask me. Please, like, DM me on Instagram and I can help you out the best way I could. Up next, when you have the two pieces now, you are going to cover them with pattern paper. And then once you're done with that, you can sew it, and then you are going to put that to the side. The next thing we need to do is we are going to cut another two pieces of the ScrapDivaDesigns small strips, and that is a 2.25 by 5. And then you are also going to cut one piece of 7.5 by 3.5. That is the other piece on the left right there. And you are going to score that at 0.5 on all sides. You're going to do your snips for it to look like that. And then again, we are going to cover it with pattern paper. Again, that's two pieces of the small strips from ScrapDivaDesigns, and one 7.5 by 3.5 strip that is going to be scored at 0.5 on all sides. And then the next thing we're doing is we are going to put this bottom half of the birdhouse together. So the two small pieces that will be the sides of our bottom part, and then the bigger piece that is going to be our base. It is optional, but for me, I also covered the insides of the birdhouse. Again, it's optional. It's your choice. I usually do it so it's sturdier than just the single side, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't really like my projects flimsy. And since I don't usually use thicker cardstock or even chipboard, because that's another supply that I do not want to hoard. I don't want to have a lot of. So I just use like my regular 65-pound cardstock. And then what I do is I just layer it with pattern paper or an extra piece of the solid cardstock. So here we are putting the bottom of that bottom piece of our birdhouse. Once you're done gluing all those pieces together, we have our box. And that's how it's going to look if you put the top and the bottom together. And the next thing we need to do is we need to cut strips. So this is going to be 1 by 10 scored at 0.5. And then we are also going to score at 2.5. You are going to do the same with the other piece. So that's two pieces that you're going to need, that you scored halfway at 0.5, and then on the 10-inch side you are going to score at 2.5. We're gonna make our snips. Please be careful when you're doing the snips right here, because you might cut all the way, and we do not want to do that. So that's how it looks. You will do the same with the other side, and then you are going to glue that just so it doesn't tear. I believe I'm going to show you how I glue them together. Yeah, it's going to look like that, and then you are going to glue it for it not to rip. So whenever I make something that's like a box type, I always do this flaps on the opening of each box, because I do not want the top half of whatever box I'm making to fall inside of the bottom half, which is why I use this. It's like a stopper. So there's that. We are gluing that piece, like I said. Then once we're done with that, we are gonna glue those to the sides, the inside of our box. A little note that when you put these strips inside the box, when you glue it down, make sure that the side flap, one of the side flaps, as you can see on the left side, you don't glue that in, because we are going to need that to connect our top and bottom pieces of our birdhouse. And that's how it's going to look. So there's a flap. The other flap we glued down. And the next thing we need to do is we need to cover that center, like, what do you call it? Those, the strips that we just put, I always cover it down so it's like cleaner. And I like to do some sewing whenever I can. So for this, you are going to need 7.5 by 2.5. Again, that's 7.5 by 2.5, and we are going to score it at 0.5 on all sides, and you are going to cut out the middle. Yeah, so you're going to cut out the middle part until you have you just have the corners. I will show it to you right here once I cut it out. After I cut that out, I am going to sew the edges. So again, it looks cleaner after I did the sewing. Yeah, so that's how it looks. And then we are going to glue that down. This is optional, by the way. You don't need to do this. Up next, we are going to glue the two pieces together. And to do that, remember that flap, the small flap that's left on the bottom part right there. So you are going to put some glue there. And you let it dry. This is not the only piece that will hold them together. It is going to be, it is way too thin to keep it together, and that is going to fall, as you can see here. So if you open that one and you don't have anything right there, it is most likely going to rip, especially if you have something inside, if you put things inside that top part. So we are gonna fix that a little later, but for now we are gonna make the outside hinge. I don't have the measurement for this one, but all you need to do is just to measure the width of the box, like the side, and then that's the width of the box by, I believe, 2 inches, and then you just like score it in the middle, so you have 1 inch per part. How do you say it? Per maybe side of the box. So that's 1 inch on the upper side of the box and 1 inch on the lower side of the box. I hope that makes sense, but it is very understandable, I guess. You just look at it, and then you can even make it as the hinge as long, but I think 1 inch is a good width for the hinge, just so it holds a good enough amount of like the side. Up next, this is going to be the top closure, and to make that is, if I'm not mistaken, that is going to be the 2.5 by 2.75 inches. Again, just to make sure you can measure your bird box, like that opening right now. And then as you can see, I did that like loop tab thing. And that is going to be part of my closure, because I am not going to use any zippers here, but just a piece of ribbon. And then once you cut that out, you are going to, what I did there earlier was I glued that piece that I just that I showed you earlier to the flap. And this one that I'm holding right now, this is another piece. It's like the same thing, but it is going to be a little bit smaller. So it's 2.5 by 1.5. And I also did the same loop tab thing. And I'm just opening up that loop so I can put the ribbon later. And then you are going to glue that from the corner, I guess, a corner of the roof, just so it has enough space between those two loop tabs. And then this is going to be our closure. So you let that dry, and then we put in a ribbon like here. So I just added a chunky ribbon. And now we go back to this part right here where you can see that flap. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to cut a piece of paper, just so, like a little bit bigger than that flap, just so to reinforce it. Here I am just showing you that for the closure of this part right here, I am not going to do the same thing as a closure on top, but I will be using a hinge, like a plastic hinge. Here I am going to glue a piece of cardstock. I believe that's around maybe an inch by, I think it's 2.5. Again, I didn't measure this, so you can go ahead and measure it. And yeah, that is just to cover that small flap that we left earlier, which connects our both these two big pieces. And I'm doing that just so it's a little sturdy, you know, doesn't rip. Here I am showing you the hinge that I'm going to be using as a closure to this birdhouse. And we are just going to glue that down, and once we're done with that, you can maybe make a dangle charm and use that one to close up the birdhouse. Now here is a finished look. I just added like a few flowers because I was annoyed by the stitching that I did. But yeah, I will be showing you the clip here, and this is how it looks once I decorated it. And yep, that's it for now. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!